What's up, everybody? We're back on the Isaiah Edward podcast, and today I have a very special guest, Miss Debbie Schaefer, owner of Mrs. G's, Lawrence Township, New Jersey, and we're here.
I'm so happy to be here. Thank you for inviting me to be on your podcast.
This is one of those moments. Every single time I have an episode with somebody, I always take that deep breath because it's I know I'm gonna have a beautiful conversation. And out of everybody I've been looking forward to speak to on my list, you're one of the top people I've been wanting to speak with.
That's very kind. Thank you so much.
So, I introduced you, right? The world doesn't know, most do, because you're quite famous, but I do. Owner of Mrs. G's, right? Appliance center in New Jersey. Tell the people out there, what was your origins of being a young girl and getting put into this business and how that all happened, right? You've told me the story, but
okay,
I'd love to hear it again.
Well, for those that are listening, like you said, Mrs. G is one store, single store, but a destination appliance store in Lawrence Township, New Jersey. And it started in 1935 in Trenton, New Jersey. My grandparents, Abe and Beatrice Greenberg, started the business together and just grew and grew. And it moved from Trenton to Ewing. Then when the big malls started to build, the Quaker Bridge Mall, which is not too far from here, they thought it would, at that time, a good move to move near the mall. So that was actually right up the street, not too far from our current location. And we were there for about 40 years. And I moved the store to this new location. We are here in the Sub-Zero Wolf Living Kitchen. And Mrs. G's has, we're third generation business. My mother grew up in the business as well. And so she was very much a part of the business. And she retired a little on the early side. My grandmother worked until she was 96. And back in the 50s, they were originally called New Jersey Plumbing and Appliance, and then slowly got out of the plumbing business and just started focusing on appliances, then brought in TVs. But in the 50s, my grandmother was the face of the business. She was always on the floor. She was always talking to customers, very interested in the community, what's going on. She had a very good sense of what people needed in their kitchen, in laundry. So she was just really great with people and being on the floor. And everybody called my grandparents Mr. and Mrs. G, G for Greenberg. And so in the 50s, that's when they started to change the name. They went from New Jersey Appliances, and then they went to Mrs. G Appliances, because everybody knew my grandparents, but again, my grandmother was the face of the business, and my grandfather adored my grandmother and was just happy to name the business after her. So the business just grew and grew and has a great reputation. And I went into the business actually later in life. Because of the business, and my father worked in the business as well, gave me the opportunity to go to college. I went to the University of Michigan, and I actually studied engineering. I was very good in math, so at school they recommended that I go into that kind of school, and I actually loved engineering, civil engineering actually. And my first job out of school was working on high-rise construction and development. And so I was doing that for a while. And then I went to go into home building, and I did home construction for a while. And then even though I'd never really worked in the business, I was still extremely close to my grandmother. So I was always in the store, but was pursuing construction. And when I got married and had kids, I took some time off to be with my twin girls. And when they were 5, it was time for them to go off to kindergarten, and I wanted to go back to work. And so my grandmother would say, "Why don't you just come in with me? I just feel that you'll be so good in the business, and see if you like it. And if you love it, well, you have a great career here. And if you don't, because at that time they weren't sure what to do with the business. My mother had already retired. My grandmother was getting older. A lot of the competition was coming in, putting a little strain on the business. So there was lots of going on. And my mother thought it was a really good idea that I came into the business. And so I came in the business, and one of the things that I wanted to do to set ourselves apart from the competition is bring in what we would call exclusive brands. And we're sitting here in one of the exclusive brands. This is the Sub-Zero Wolf Living Kitchen. And this is one of the first, initiatives that I took in the business where we were not moving away from core. When I say core, that's your everyday brands that my grandmother loved to sell. But in addition to that, bringing in these what they call luxury brands. And I really enjoyed, doing that. My grandmother, was happy for me to be with her in the business, and the business.
Yeah, so like the couple things that caught my eye, like what a remarkable journey to have one location and move multiple times. It reminds me of like my apartments. I've lived in so many apartments, Debbie. Like I've moved so many times, but like you grow through every move. And the fact that like they just kept evolving over time. Another thing that I love that your grandmother did was recognize the idea of personal brand, right? Like making it personal, putting your identity and name attached to the business, because it's like New York, Jersey, and plumbing. There's no story there.
That's right.
But the moment you add that element, things get so interesting. Like, what is that identity? What do they represent? What is that entity? Like, what do they look like? What do they sound like? What are their colors? Like, all these things. So the fact that she figured that out way back is so impressive to me, right? Because I'm just figuring that out now in this like space of business, like developing my own personal brand as well, my own identity of Isaiah Edward and like Exchange Media. But so those things caught my eye. And another thing too that's interesting, because like I just told you before, right, how I went to school for something completely else.
Right.
But interesting how those same skills could still apply to our new endeavors.
Exactly.
Right?
Exactly.
And then the fact that like opportunity struck to work with family, because like like you probably heard that before, like don't mix business with family, or like friends with family,
right,
or friends with business, I mean, right? But the fact that you guys have maintained like a healthy relationship, the opportunity presented, and then you embedded yourself in and brought a whole new approach of, hey, like you guys are doing some things right, let's ramp it up and like let's introduce this new strategy of luxury brands, exclusive partnerships, how it just like evolved this whole space. Like each sector of the showroom now like has its own semi-story, right?
Right.
And it's all attached to Mrs. G in the entirety. So like what a master class.
Well, let's go back to what you said was, the personal brand. Well, so again, back in the 50s and 60s, they used Mad Men. I don't know if you ever saw the show on television, Mad Men. They used, these marketing experts and came up with a picture, the cartoonish picture of my grandmother, which was the personality brand of the business. And then over time, the picture just evolved, as the company, moved into different eras, to be more current. And then my grandmother passed away in 2010, and we were getting ready to move the store just a mile from the other location, which we are now, and I wanted to change the logo again, but I originally wanted to keep it in my grandmother's face, but the person who was helping me change the logo said, oh, your grandmother's been gone for a few years, you're running the show now, it really should be your face. And as much as I was resisting, I finally said, all right, let's give it a try, and it just came out terrific. But you can go on our website, and if you look into, about us and the history of Mrs. G's, you'll see there is a history of the different brands that we have over the years.
Yeah. Like I wonder what like companies were out even then, like what the names were, like even like what packaging and shipping look like on a day-to-day basis. Like it's the 50s, 60s. Like what does that even look like, right? I'm born in 99, so I'm like, what does that even look like, that time? What a time to be alive. I'm from New York, so like I just think about like the rush hour and just like that kind of circumstance, environment. But I wonder how it looked like in Jersey, like, just so interesting. And then the fact that like the new logo worked out. And like what I love too is that like you've stamped yourself on it, but you still maintained that origin of your grandmother. Like her spirit lingers here, her name is brought up.
Well, with everything that I do, there really is a foundation of my grandparents and my grandmother, of being connected, because she was always on the floor and really caring about their customers, like that is the most important, is really taking care of the customer and making people feel good when they come in here. That's what she was very good about. My grandfather was very good on merchandising and also just and giving back to the community. That was really important to her too. And
what's some things she used to do? Like, because I know some of the stuff you do now, and we'll get into that, but like, did she ever like tell you what she would be doing, or did you get to like see it, or like?
You mean in terms of giving back to the community?
Giving back. Well, what was the type of thing she would do?
Well, she was, in all different religions, she always felt that she would like to, give back to the community. Jewish, so she would, always, support the Jewish community. At the same time, she was very devoted to these two nuns in Trenton. And whatever they wanted, the answer was always yes. And my mother would say she didn't give them truckloads of appliances. She gave them trainloads of appliances because they took care of orphans and they had homes in Trenton and they needed, help with putting together these homes. And my grandmother would always take care of them. They were so connected that when my mother and grandmother were traveling to Italy, they even got connected to the Vatican to get a private tour of the Vatican. And I mean, that's pretty amazing. That was done in the 60s. That baseball games, I just remember doing that. I think it was really just, where she felt that to give back, where she felt it was needed, where she could really help to keep it in the community, to help in the community.
That's like, it's a beautiful lesson I've learned in our time of like knowing each other. Like, it's something I'm like developing more myself. But like a funny line I always say, Debbie, is like, the more God has given me, the more I give away, the more God gives me to give away.
Right.
Something like that.
Well, I really do. When I talk to people, I feel that's for me, that's one of the best things about working here and having a successful business is that I'm able to give back and I'm able to, provide any nonprofit that can come into the store and use this as a resource to host events. I'll be hosting a symphony for the Princeton Symphony here, a cooking event for them. I Dress for Success. I support them. I think they're very important. It's just it really makes me feel good that I'm able to give back.
So how is the like transition from motherhood career to this? Because it's like this was your first business you became like a administrator of and like owner of eventually, right? Like you started off working, helping your grandmother, your mother, your father, but eventually you became an owner. That's a big change.
It's a big change.
Especially like going into the fact that it's established already. Because like for us, like for me, I've started from ground zero. So it looks different, but like I can't imagine like that you just built a family, you're already exhausted from that. And then career-wise, who knows what type of like different line of work you were already doing. That might have been strenuous, but like just jumping into like the world of business, like tell me your feelings when that was happening. Was it overwhelming, or were you just like, you were built for it almost at that point, right?
Well, I didn't really feel that it was overwhelming, but I did feel that I had to be patient and the stumbling blocks along the way. But I read this book called The E-Myth, which I recommend to everybody who wants to be an entrepreneur. Michael Gerber, I think, is the author. It's been around for like 30 years, and a simple little paperback that really gives you how to be successful in running a business, whether you're taking over a family business or an existing business or starting something new. I will tell you a statistic is that only 30% of second generation owners survive, and only 10% survive in the third generation. So I feel very blessed that we're still standing and we're still here as a third generation. I feel that having an amazing staff. There's no question that my staff, I could not do this without a great team. I have people here that's been here for as long as almost 57 years, who Tom Gray's been with the family, like I said, going on almost 58 years, and he's only working a couple days a week now, but he was the general manager, and he's did a great job. I have a new COO, Al Jacobson, who's amazing, who helps me run the business, and Chris Gray, who is Tom Gray's son, who is now general manager, and just having these great people to help me run the business is so important, and I have 24 employees here, so they all have important jobs, and they all do it extremely well, and very proud that we're all together as a team. So I think that that's really very helpful for me to have a vision of what I feel. I'm a visioner. I don't know do you vision?
Oh yeah. Because, when you're designing a team, they say there's different roles, and that's one of the star roles, the visionary. Right. Like exactly. Who sees things that other people can't, who can plan far ahead, who can put pieces together in a beautiful way.
So when I first started in the business, I had a vision of bringing all the luxury, all the luxury brands from the back of the store to the front of the store, where people could see them more, but not forget the core brands, which are so important to our business and for generations of customers who are not going to purchase luxury appliances, they're going to purchase the core brand. So that was very important to my grandmother and for me, that we were still making sure that that business was strong. And even to this day, and I've been in this business now over 20 years, it's 50% core and 50% luxury. Not a lot of dealers are like that. Some have gone, just into luxury. Yeah. So, and so this way I love, and there's not a day that doesn't go by that someone doesn't talk about my grandmother or say that, my parents always shopped here, my grandparents shopped here. I mean, that gives me chills. I just love hearing it, and every day.
It's a legacy thing, right? To see the effects of what somebody planted such a long time ago. I want to go back a little, right? Because you talk about stumbling blocks, right? I feel like there's a lot of female entrepreneurs, even me myself as an entrepreneur, what type of stumbling blocks did you encounter in terms of actual situations or mindset? What are the things you felt like you had to overcome, whether it was dealing with the politics of all of this and just the terminology and the practice, what's those things business owners can expect to encounter along their journey, because everyone has to face their trials and tribulations, as I'm facing now, as any other entrepreneur is facing now, right? You have to go through it to get to it.
Right.
But what's the things that you felt like you had to face?
Well, one of the biggest stumbling blocks is raising children through all of this. And I was divorced when the kids were 4. So I can truly say I raised the children myself, and it wasn't easy, but I loved every minute of it. And I made mistakes along the way. The biggest consistent mistakes I would make is kids didn't have a decent lunch, or I forgot their lunch, or I didn't have food in the house, so I couldn't make their lunch, and I had to bring their lunch, and then I forgot to come over to drop off the lunch. I mean, things like that, where I would beat myself up because I felt like I failed as a mother. But it was okay, because it's little mistakes along the way that you just, you can't be perfect. It's just impossible to be perfect. But to be there when, as much as you can, and still do what you need to do in your business. So there's not a balance. And people say, how do you balance everything? It's impossible. One day you're going to be like, everything's great, I did everything right. The next day, oh my God, nothing's right today. And you just have to wake up every morning and it's a new day, and you're just going to do better than you did the day before, or at least try to do better. And so I think that's a stumbling block.
You just gave me chills because you made me think about my mom. My parents also split when I was young, and I seen my mother struggle working 2 jobs, raising us, having to rely on other people, still trying to pursue the goal of higher education, higher career. And it's not that's definitely a big thing that people don't talk about, right? Like, I love that you said there is no balance though, right? When you want such greatness in your life, the greater things you want, they require more of you, and they require more of a sacrifice. And sometimes it lingers in these little ways in our relationships. Like when there's no harm, obviously there's no harm to that, but it hurts, of course, like these little mess ups along the way. But the fact that you persevered and that your kids still turned out beautiful.
Yeah.
I turned out pretty beautiful too myself. So regardless, whatever.
You were so, I'm so proud of the girls. They have beautiful careers and beautiful partners, I really wouldn't change anything, when it comes to how I raise the kids. I'm very, very happy about that. Well, another, stumbling block is, I wouldn't say stumbling block, but it's lonely at the top. When you are running the show, I don't care if you're your own boss, you're it, or you have a team underneath you. It's lonely because you don't really have anyone to talk to. I mean, you can get coaches and things like that, and that's becoming more popular today, but back then when I was starting, there wasn't really, people really weren't talking about getting coaches and things like that. So I did find that was hard, where I would have liked to have a little bit more advice. When I was ready to change my accountant and go into a different direction with my accountant, which I call like our CFO, I connected with a great accountant who was more like a business consultant as well, but CFO side. Mm-hmm. And he does not let me leave the room until I understand the numbers. And that is another thing that the book, the E-Myths, talks about, is like, know your numbers. And that is, something else I would really recommend. The stumbling blocks of just learning the financials of your business, and that you don't come from a business background. I come from a numbers background, but not a financial background. Is that you have to really know your numbers and to really make sure that you're making money. When in good economies, when you're selling, and you're not knowing your numbers, everything's fine. But when things turn, like the recession and COVID, and things start to regress and retract, and then where you have to make sure you got enough cash in the bank, to cover everything. You've got to really know that it's there. You have to really know your numbers to make sure that you can get through those tough times.
Yeah, those retraction periods.
But in my business, what's interesting about being a woman who runs a company, there are not a lot of women, this is kind of unknown. There's very few women that own appliance stores in the United States. It's like, I can count them on my hand.
It's a handful.
It's like a handful.
Wow.
And I know this because it really became obvious to me. A quick story. Sub-Zero, which we are in Sub-Zero, owns Sub-Zero's refrigeration. That's the main company. And they own, their cooking is called Wolf. And then they have dishwashers, they're called Cove. And when they were introducing their new dishwasher, this was about 6 or 8 years ago, they were introducing the new dishwasher. They wanted all the owners to come to Wisconsin, where the corporate headquarters is, for the launch of the new dishwashers. Now, Sub-Zero and Wolf, they're mostly sold in independent stores, just like Mrs. G's. And so these are all independent appliance dealers from all over the country. Some were even from Mexico, a few were even from Canada. And it was broken up into 2 groups, and each group had about 250 people in each group. And I get to Wisconsin, and no wives, meaning no spouses, okay? So only the owners. And so I get there, and I'm on the bus going from the hotel to the corporate headquarters, and I notice on the bus, I'm the only woman on the bus. I said, that's kind of odd, but whatever. And then I get to the corporate headquarters, and I'm in the audience. I'm literally, out of 200 people, I'm the only woman in the audience. I couldn't believe it.
Wow.
I couldn't believe it. And things are changing now. I think that years ago, the daughters of, independent retail stores are usually generally in the historically family run. So if they're, their sons and daughters, the ownership would go more to the sons than to the daughters. Or if it went to the daughter, it would be like the son-in-law,
Start taking
but
over.
Things are changing now. More daughters are, becoming, owners of companies, which I'm so glad to see. But because of that even made me feel lonelier. Lonely. But, when I was there, I also felt very empowered, that here I am, and I'm in such a wonderful group of people who are all very successful, and for Sub-Zero to be launching such a great piece, and but it was, I'll never forget that.
This is why I resonate with you so much. Like, you being that I'm in this leadership role now, like, and I'm developing, I feel those emotions as well, right? Like, and I'm reconciling with them. I'm trying to process them of like, how do I navigate this responsibility and this position I've been put in? And this is why you inspire me so much, for the fact that like you're like a mother to me almost, right? Seriously, in our short time of knowing each other, right? Like the fact that like you've lived a remarkable life, a lion you are, right? The fact that you could be in a room with that many men and feel empowered,
right?
Not shy away, lean into this role, like overcome the hurdles of the stumbling blocks of being in the gray area of like, how do I handle this role, this responsibility? How do I prepare for bad times? Another thing that I'm very curious about, I love your talent, right? Like your team is so awesome. That's something I've been learning to navigate too. Like, how was your process of going about finding talent and like developing that? Like, was that something that refined over time as well? Like, I'm sure you've had bad hires down the line, right? But that's something I'm learning too, because we brought this up before. Community is the basis of business, right? But like your day-to-day operations, what is the basis of that? Your team, right? The team is what holds everything up. The visionary is only the visionary, and they can only get so far without the team. And if the team is not good, you're not going to win the Super Bowl, right? So it's like, was that a stumbling block for you as well? Like learning how to find A+ talent and put them in the positions they need to be in?
I wouldn't say it's a stumbling block, but it's an ongoing process, because you can just get so much information in a short period of time just on an interview. I mean, you think that this person is going to be a rock star, or it's going to fit, he or she is answering all the questions, the way you want it to hear. But really, it's not until they get into the job where you're going to find out within, a few weeks if this job is right for them. And so, we spend a lot of time, talking, communicating, with whoever we hire, just to make sure that we're all on the same page. And when things don't work out, it's you have to move on, and until you find that the right person. But the key is that there's a word for it. It's like I can't think of it now, but where you really are leaning into everybody who works here. I want to make sure that they're paid well and they get good benefits, and that that we understand if things happen with their family and they got to go home. Vacation, give them a decent vacation time and things like that, and so that they feel good about working here. All of that is important, and that they feel that they have a career here too. We don't just want to hire them, hourly person. We want you to know you have a career here, and they know they do, because they see other people here that has been here for a long time.
From the start, right? Yeah. And then also too, I feel like culture and mission is important too, because it's when you find those people, I'm learning now in my own experience, when you find the people that just believe in the vision that the visionary presents, and they are catered to the culture that you develop as well, they find purpose. More than just let's take it another level, past career and all these accommodations. I feel like finding A+ talent that has purpose with the mission, why wouldn't they want to be a part of it? Right? When everything lines up. But when that is met, man, when they just really believe in what we're doing here, what the mission of Mrs. G is, or Exchange Media, right? Just being really a part of it, making it almost their own, essentially.
Exactly, being an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
You're your own entrepreneur in the job that you have, and make it the best you can be. And
So, for now, I'm getting more of an understanding of how the appliance industry works. But for those who I remember it was the first time I kind of heard about that with you. Right, we live our day-to-day lives. We don't even realize that this is a thing, right? Even I used to talk about this with my medical background. I'll be there's a whole world going on out there while you're sleeping, tucked in bed. I'm on an ambulance going to some crazy ER right now. You would have no clue. You don't even know what's going on out there. So it's the same thing I feel with this. Tell people really how does appliances work? They obviously go in homes, businesses, government buildings, right? You have your stoves, your fridges, your grills, the so on and so forth. But how does it work essentially? A general consensus, I guess.
Yeah. So, well,
how would you describe?
Just like I say, everybody's my customer. Because everybody needs appliances, and our mission, which I love, is we sell products and provide service that makes life better.
Yeah.
Cook better, clean better, wash better, grill better, life better. So, yes, and everybody, and then you have to break it down. What category does the customer want? Is it a replacement product? And we call that distress product, meaning your washer just died or your dishwasher just died and you need to replace it. That's 60% of our business. And 60% of all appliance business leans a little bit more to distress, meaning that people need a replacement. So then you have to, it can get complicated. It's not just, okay, I just want to replace my refrigerator. Well, maybe this refrigerator is not going to fit. So people have to really do a lot of homework. They have to measure their openings. They have to, for your dishwashers, they have to measure and make sure that whatever dishwasher they're going to pick, that it's going to fit. So it's important for the consumer to do some homework, but it's also important for the sales professional to ask the right questions. So when they ask the right questions and the consumer doesn't have the answers, then we send them home, to go and get those measurements.
Yeah.
Because, a lot of times if you're not asking the right questions, and then you sell them a product that doesn't fit, or the dryer's gas that you sold them, but they actually have electric. And, the appliance goes to the house and then it comes back to the store. So we don't want to frustrate the customer with not asking the right questions. And we don't want to be frustrated by taking something back because, we didn't get the right answers. So it's a whole process.
Between either the stress, the process in between that, and then even like customization of like people who want particular features or designs, or maybe they want colors, or they want coordination with the rest of the house, particular fitting, combinations of multiple appliances in one like stack. What are those called? Like where it's like a whole stack, like maybe like a lineup of multiple appliances. Like let's say like an island like this, like it has stove, dishwasher, and everything. Is that called something? Is there like a term for that?
No, no. It's like a lot of different appliances on an island. But again, it's a simple. Like some things are really simple. Simple to install, simple to. You have a washer and dryer, and you know that it's the dryer's gas, and you have plenty of room. It doesn't even have. Just goes in, into the house and comes out. That's in a perfect world, that's great, and that can be, a lot of sales. But then it's got to go in the basement. And then you have to, how does the washer drain in the basement? Where's the drain hook? Like people, they don't know, there's so many questions. And the consumer, and they're absolutely right, depend on us to have the expert staff, sales professionals, the expert staff to ask the right questions. That's the most important. They have to ask the questions. And again, if the customer doesn't know, then they have to go home and get the answers. Yeah.
So what do you feel like sets like Mrs. G's apart? I'm assuming that's one of those things, just being very knowledgeable and having this process that makes a distressed customer, for whatever reason they have, whether it be customization or in need of emergency, like go through this process where they're catered to, they have all the questions answered, and then what's another thing do you feel like that really sets you guys apart from everybody else?
So I think also, when we talk about new construction and people come in here and they want to, they want to create a new kitchen. So we're also extremely knowledgeable on helping them decide on what appliances to get within their budget. And it's just being extremely knowledgeable. Now today, customers have really changed from the customer even 10 years ago, is that now the customer really does a lot of their shopping already online. They'll go either to websites like Mrs. G's, or they'll go to websites that are the brand, like Cafe Appliances or Sub-Zero, Sub-Zero refrigerators, Frigidaire. They'll go directly to see what's available. Again, or you go to Mrs. G's, and they'll get an idea. They'll get an idea on price, and they'll, instead of having to shop at a lot of different stores, they're already doing that online. So usually by the time they're ready to come into the store, they kind of have an idea of what they want, and then we just start asking the right questions to make sure that what they want is going to work for them, what other things they need. Maybe they even have to make a change. But we're very, very good. And I think the other thing is we have a great display of appliances in all price ranges. So like, again, here we're in the Sub-Zero room. There's 88 pieces of Sub-Zero, Wolf, and Cove in this room alone. But you go out into the other showroom, and all different brands have great displays, so they really can touch and feel. And we have quite a few that are live, that they can come in and cook if they want. And so they can, see how induction is like a very big, I wouldn't say it's new, but it's becoming more popular now because it's energy efficient, it's safer than gas cooking, easier to clean, and a much better experience than an electric cooktop. So we have a big display, I think more than anybody that I know of induction cooking, whether cooktop or range, so they can really see what's out there in all different sizes.
Yeah.
So I think that's what also sets us apart too.
Yeah, definitely. Even for me, like what I've noticed is your customer experience and your sales process here is world class. Like, it's from the moment somebody walks into the door, they're greeted, they're met with friendly faces, all their questions are answered, they get a beautiful presentation of the beautiful showroom you guys have, be educated on new technology that they might have not known of prior. So like that's a cool question too. Like, what do you think is the future of appliances? 5, 10 years, 15 years? Like, do you think we're going to be going into like this more like AI or like complicated like designs? Like, what do you see? Like, or what do you predict?
Oh no, I really do feel that things are evolving. So I talked about induction. I really do feel that it's going to, the news is out there that gas is not healthy when the gas is on in the house. It throws off nitrogen dioxide, which is bad for our respiratory in our bodies. And that for anybody that's out there that has a gas range or a gas cooktop, you absolutely need to turn on your hood to make sure that those toxins go out of the house.
Yep.
I think my kids' generation, I know you probably feel the same way, your kids are going to be very much into wanting clean air, clean homes, that are going to be very sustainable. They're going to want to eat healthy, and so the future is going to be very clean. Everything is going to be clean air. So they're going to be moving into more induction.
Yeah, and I assume that's going to carry out for all the appliances, whether it be more healthy options that clean dishes better, things that preserve food better in the fridge, like
exactly
just that whole concept of health and preservation. And like,
and any of these brands, they want to inspire you to cook. They want to bring people back into the kitchen and cook. Yes, they're beautiful, they look great to look at, and there's a lot of people that just want to build these beautiful kitchens and they still want to go out to dinner all the time and not do a lot of cooking, but they truly do really want people to get back to cooking. And so the future is really going to be, how do we make it easier for you to get good performance when you cook? Because a lot of people don't cook because they don't think they're good cooks. They burn the meats, or they just don't have good success. And so having they're introducing sous vide cooking today, which is is where you put meats and anything that you're eating, could be vegetables, poultry, fish, in these good plastic bags. I know plastic we have issues with, but the ones that don't have a lot of toxins in the plastic, and you vacuum seal it, and then you put it in a water bath at the temperature of what you want whatever you're cooking to be. And so it takes a little bit longer, but once it hits the temperature, it doesn't cook it any longer. And so that when you're making that steak that you just paid a lot of money for, and you want it perfectly medium rare, you do it in the sous vide, and then once it hits the temperature, you can leave it there for an hour if you're entertaining at home, if you're busy with other things around the house, and then when you're ready to make dinner, you just take it out, you pat it dry, you put it in a hot cast iron skillet to sear it really quickly, and you've made a perfect piece of meat every time.
That excites me, just like the because like I grew up in like my family's era of like gas stove and switching. Now I have like an electric top, but just that excites me, like a future where we're more conscious of our health, of accessibility and ease when it comes to cooking, just new technology. It's all exciting. Even just like seeing some of the features, even learning about induction, like it's been, what a journey it's been in my appliance world. But what's like the craziest project you guys had to do for somebody? I feel like you brought this up to me a little while ago about somebody's, like in terms of like scale or complexity of somebody's like preferences, maybe their requests from you. I'm pretty sure you told me about a house you had to do.
I'm thinking, well, some of these
Told me about La Cornée, I think, or something like that. Maybe like somebody had a very expensive build or something like that.
Yeah. So they had a lot of different, the La Cornue is really the Hermes bag of course, you can get a La Cornue. You can't, even if you can afford an Hermes bag, sometimes you can't even get it. But you certainly can get a La Cornue if you can afford it. It's very expensive, but it's a beautiful range. But it also has natural convection. Convection is the fan that's behind the stove that maintains the temperature all over the oven, so you can do like multiple racks of cookies and get them all consistent. And so most ovens today are convection with the fan, but this La Cornue is made with a cathedral ceiling, like a soft curved ceiling, and because of that, it's that natural convection, and it really, if you use it, it's just a great cooking experience. So doing those that have La Cornues and have really upscale the luxury appliances can be very detailed, because a lot of the parts, they'll have like the refrigerators are hidden. If you walk into this room, you'll see it. They look like pantries. They don't look like refrigerators. They have panels on it that are very flush. And then there'll be a refrigerator next to a freezer next to a wine refrigerator, and everything is going to be like super flush, and everything is hidden. I mean, the dishwasher is hidden. And these hoods are just beautiful with lots of detail. There can be some tricky ones, and you have to make sure. That's why we're very, very skilled here, because if it's hinged on the left, you need this part. If it's hinged on the right, you need this part. You have to check your work 2 or 3 times, because you don't want the installers to get to a job and then the wrong parts are there, and then they can't really finish, so it's really, really important to make sure that all our I's are dotted and T's are crossed.
And I feel like in terms of customization, like I just imagine what you just described, and I'm losing my mind. I could imagine like it could go on and on. Like there's a never-ending list of like, I want this color, this shape. Oh man.
Yeah.
So, you brought up something before, and this is an important topic to me, and I'm always curious about about everybody that I meet with, just their personal view on their faith, right? It's not something I push or anything like that, but you brought up you were Jewish. Has faith been a central part of your journey in entrepreneurship, and what does that look like? And
really, honestly, with my faith is really my family. It's really, it's like, I'm going to start to cry. No, it's okay. It's okay. I'm a crybaby, but it's really all about them. I'm really, the sort of that keeps me going. I just love, being so connected to them, like if they have like things that are going, not perfectly, it's almost like it's not going perfectly for me. You sort of feel them, growing up Jewish, it's that's very important, in the Jewish religion is family, yeah. So
I love that. I love that. Yeah, because everybody's faith looks different. Like some people are very religious in their practice. Some people gravitate to just the important things in life, and sometimes it is that simple, like love and relationships and like creation. And it's like, even for me, sometimes I revert back to just like, what is this all about? Like sometimes it's just the core tenets of life that actually matter the most, not all the theatrics and politics.
So what is it to you? Like,
so I'm a Christian, right? I'm a man of God. I believe in God very much. For me, that's been central to my entrepreneurship. To actually, medicine and science is what furthered my view, which is interesting. Some of the greatest scientists in the world, Nikola Tesla, Albert Einstein, they believed in a greater thing, God, we could call it, universe, whatever people want to call it, right? The more I learned about the way this world works, the animals, the water, the oceans, the trees, plants, and then I got to space, I said, oh man, there has to be a God. This world is so beautifully designed, right? There has to be something greater than this. So I dove deeper into my faith of what I was born into, and you see millions and billions of people believing in things and following a way of life or certain morals and beliefs and stories, and they feel so real. And then you go to these places in Israel or wherever your faith is talking about, and they become even more real. And what I've taken from it is that when you live your life with a certain compass, you could live a very beautiful life. Absolutely. And you could do amazing things on this earth. And for some people that's God, for some people it's other things. But when you just have a really good compass of life that guides your decisions and your interactions and the way you perceive the world or give back to the world, it changes everything, right? So that's why like thoughts are so powerful, like belief is so powerful. Even all of this came from belief, right? Like Absolutely. None of this was here. You envisioned it, and because you had a certain thought process, your actions aligned, your feelings aligned, and it led to this destination. So that's kind of like the way I think about it, my ethos or my like thought process about if I adopt this way of thinking, what does my destination look like? Right. And I think about, life after this one, and just even this life, like, why am I here? Why are any of us here? I'm very big on creation now, Debbie. Like, I love being a content creator, a creator. I like just building stuff, doing stuff for others, right? I think that I find the most joy now as a business owner doing that, even just like exchanging conversation, right? It's a beautiful thing. So talking about thoughts, I want to end it here, but imagine if everything was erased and you had 60 seconds. What's the one piece of advice consolidated that you would give to entrepreneurs and people that are looking to get appliances into their homes, and even females that are entering the space, or even mothers that are entering the space? How would you consolidate your whole life advice into this moment right here?
It's a tough question.
It is. But it probably a lot of the things that we already spoke about, just bringing it up again, right? Or even for me, right? Like me being here, consider me as well. Like you're looking at somebody who's trying to be a lion like you, know?
I have some T-shirts that were made, and on it says, "Confidence is beautiful." And for all, especially women out there, is to be really confident and confident in who you are. Lean in and be there at the table and lean into. I think when you show people that you're confident, there's they want to engage with you. They want to, and I feel that that would be really helpful. And the other thing would be is nothing really isn't as bad as it seems. You just have to, things happen. There's nothing you can do about it, and you need to just move on. and not ruminate about, things that are bad, because many times it's not going to be anywhere in your head 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now. And you just have to keep, I think I brought it up early on in our conversation, is you wake up every day and it's a new day and it's a great day. Yeah, so that's it.
Well, that wraps up this episode of the Isaiah Edward podcast, guys. I'm gonna put all of Debbie's links for Mrs. G's. If you guys need any appliances, anything for your homes, for your businesses, for your projects, get involved, find out what they're doing here at Mrs. G's. This is an amazing place. You have to come down and see their showroom and get their products within your places that you're growing your families and growing your memories, and also become a part of our community. It's a beautiful community here. We're doing amazing things, and Debbie and her team, they're fantastic. There's a lot of knowledge you guys could learn and apply in your life and for your families. So we're gonna link everything down in bio. Debbie, love you, bless you. That was an awesome conversation. Yeah, thank you.
Great to be here. Thank you.
Great.